Hello, Alycats and new viewers. So today I'm bringing you my November 2017 reading wrap-up. I read 5 books in the month of November, so not bad, but not great either, but it's okay. And if you'd like to read the written reviews for these books, I'll have those listed in the description box down below. But let's get started. The first book I read was The Book of Esther by Emily Barton, and guys, look at this cover. It is gorgeous! Like, seriously, beautiful. Sadly though, the book itself doesn't live up to the gorgeous cover. Now, it's not a bad book by any means, but on the front it's blurbed as addicting as a Jewish Game of Thrones. No, no, no. This book was such a slog to get through. The first 100 pages were just kind of boring, and they're setting up the characters, which is important, but it was just so descriptive. This whole book is just so descriptive. And I enjoy, you know, reading writing that allows me to enter a world, but this was overly descriptive. It was describing every little thing, and it just got to the point where it was just boring to me, and I was skipping over parts, and I hate when I do that with books. And it is an exciting adventure, and I like the fact that the story is based off the story of Esther from the Bible. It's set in an alternate reality. There's steampunk elements, there's fantasy elements. Those are all really cool, and plus the main female character, Esther, is a badass heroine who decides she wants to make her own way through life. But it's just the book itself, the way it was written was just so slow, and I couldn't get into it. So sadly I gave it 3 out of 5. I'm sure there are some people out there that love this book, and if it sounds interesting to you, pick it up, because there's a lot of interesting concepts. It's just, it wasn't for me. Now the next book was an absolute gem, and that is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I'm pretty sure Agatha Christie is one of my new favorite authors because she just writes such compelling mysteries. This is about 10 people who are summoned to this isolated island. They think they're going to a party, but when they arrive there's no one else there, and they soon realize that there's no way off the island, and they get this message from a gramophone that says they've all committed crimes and that by the end of the night there will be none. And it's just a really compelling mystery. It's so fast-paced, so fun to read. It's so fun trying to figure out what's going on. And I just love Agatha Christie's writing, and this was a 5 out of 5 book. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it yet and you love a good mystery. Definitely check out And Then There Were None. The next book I read was Fully Functioning Human Almost, Living in an Online-Offline World by Melanie Murphy. And I adore Melanie Murphy as a YouTuber. I love her YouTube videos. And this is her memoir slash advice book. And yeah, some of the advice you've heard a million times, but I love the fact that Melanie herself intersperses stories from her own life and tells how the advice she gives in the book helped her in those situations. And I love the fact that she was so open about all these different things. A lot of people would be afraid to talk about these things, but Melanie just openly talks about them. Talks about what she felt as they happened, after they happened, how she is affected by it now, how she coped with it, and I just found it really insightful and inspiring, and it just made me love Melanie even more as a person. So I did give this 4.5 out of 5 stars. If you like Melanie Murphy, definitely read this book, but also if you're a teenage girl and you want some advice, I think this book would be perfect, because I definitely would have wanted to read this when I was a teenager, because it covers so many different topics, such as the idea of what constitutes beauty. It talks about skincare routines, it talks about sex and consent and all that kind of stuff. It's just really wonderful, and I just highly recommend it. Then I read Otherworld by Jason Segel and Kirsten Miller, and yes, it is that Jason Segel, the actor Jason Segel. And this book is fun. It's kind of like Ready Player One meets The Hunger Games set for the millennial age. And it's a fun ride, but I could not stand the main character. Yes, he's a teenage boy and we're seeing through his eyes, but I just became tired of hearing him talking about how attractive he was and how he saw women. He's like, oh, her boobs are big. And he talked about how he made his video game character in this world, because this is set in a reality where virtual reality is this huge thing and is really immersive, how he makes his characters well endowed, and I just got so tired of reading about that. But actually reading about the other world, which is the virtual reality in the book, reading about his experience in that and how he's trying to save the girl he loves was really, really fun and fast-paced. I just wish the main character was fleshed out better, and also the other characters in the book aren't very fleshed out either. I feel like if the characters had had more depth and the main character hadn't been so much of a teenage boy, it would have been a better book, but I did give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I don't know if I'll continue this series, but it's a fun ride. And the last book I read was The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I was really afraid when I first saw a blurb about this and it compared it to Never Let Me Go, because if you saw last month's reading wrap-up, you know I didn't really care for Never Let Me Go. But this was so much better. This is about a girl named Melanie. She lives in an underground bunker with a group of other children, and every day they go to class, and then on the weekends they get to eat a meal of grubs, and then they have to take a chemical shower on Sundays. None of them know why they're there. They don't understand why they live this way, but they've come to accept it because that's all they've known. But the outside world is being ravaged by hungries, which are zombie-like creatures that are affected by the cordyceps fungal infection. So there's this whole subplot about the outside world and them being in the bunker, why they're in the bunker. And I won't say more than that because I don't want to spoil the book, but it's so well written. It's so beautiful. And I just loved Melanie, and even the unlikable characters have a reason to be unlikable. The only flaws I have with this book were some parts of the book felt like they rushed by way too fast, some felt like they dragged on for way too long, but overall I really enjoyed this. I thought this was a unique take on the zombie genre. The film adaptation is equally amazing, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend it if you want a fresh take on the zombie genre, and if you want to read a book with really beautiful writing, with characters that have depth and dimension. So those were all the books I read in the month of November. Let me know what you read in November down below in the comment box. If you like this video, leave a like, and also make sure to share it because that helps my channel grow and helps me out immensely. Also, if you're not subscribed yet, but you like what you've seen and heard, hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell so you'll always be notified whenever I upload a new video or start a new live stream. And if you'd like to follow me on social media sites, those are all listed in the description box down below. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Peace and kisses. Bye.